Go ahead, next slide. So our goals today are to define the difference between stress and stressors. Identify your dominant temperament and list 3 responses to stress. Discuss 3 techniques for managing stress. That's what we're going to cover. Next slide. So, what are good reasons to reduce stress? Why do you want to reduce your stress? Somebody tell me. You live longer, right? There you go. So 95% of all illness is worsened by stress. So if you're stressed and it becomes chronic stress, what happens to your immune system? It becomes depressed. It gets depleted, right? So what happens when your immune system's not working properly? You can get cancer, heart attack, stroke.
Hair falls out.
Hair falls out. Things like this start happening. Next slide. So stress is defined as any change to which you must adapt. A neutral event, you give it meaning good or bad. A non-specific response to the body to any demand made upon it is a stressor. So your bills are due. You can't pay them. Are you going to stress out?
Yes.
Probably so. You know? Your kid gets sick, and you got a big job at work, but you got to stay home now. Is that going to be a problem? Is that going to cause some issues? Probably. I'll give you an example. My son and I, he's 30 years old, we're watching Free Solo. I don't know if you guys have ever seen on that Geo. It's about a gentleman who climbs mountains with no ropes. He's narrating the show. Obviously, he didn't fall. Okay? My son's like, I can't watch this. I got to get up, and he walked out of the room. He couldn't take it. Kind of stressed him out. So it's how you perceive something and how someone else perceives something. It might be stressful to me. It might not be stressful to George. You know, I think that depends on your life experiences. Next. So stress is internal events, thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes. So can you wake up in the morning and think yourself into a stressful situation? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can. You wake up in Texas and it's raining. And, oh man, these idiots in Texas don't know how to drive on the roads when it's wet. So what did you do? You just put that thought in your head and you stress yourself out. You know. External events, loss, tragedy, or change. Somebody in your family gets sick. Is that going to cause a problem with stress? Yes. You go out this afternoon, you're going to go to Chick-fil-A out there on 183, and somebody rear-ends you. Is that going to be a stressful situation? But did you have control over that?
No.
Do you have control over your thoughts?
Yes.
Yes, you do. You can think yourself stressful, or you can wake up in the morning and say, hey, it's going to be a beautiful day, right? Think yourself in a positive way. Next, physical symptoms of stress. Your heart rate is increased breathing, increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, increased muscle tone, decreased skin temperature, and your brain releases those stress hormones which flood your body, which cause you to stress and start breaking down. You know, your hair starts falling out. You start getting pimples. You get, have skin problems, all kinds of things happen. Next. So these are the effects. Muscle and joint pains if you stay under stress. Brain and nervous system problems. Skin problems, heart, reproductive system, stomach and intestinal problems. All these things are going to start happening under stress. And the longer you stay under stress, the worse they're going to become. So what do you need to do to reduce your stress? What can you do? Work out. So in the Navy, you get to work out 3 times a week? You go to PT 3 times a week? Is it mandatory? When you do, don't go there and go through the motions. Make it count. You go there, go and work out. Don't just go there and pretend like you're doing it. Make it work. Because if you work out, you're going to reduce your stress. Next. So, behavioral indicators. Lack of enthusiasm for children, family, and life in general. How many people have kids? When your child comes home from school and they're not acting right, what do? You ignore them? Or do you engage with them to find out what's going on? What about your coworker at work? The guy or the gal who comes in every day and they're happy-go-lucky and they're joking around all the time and all of a sudden they come to work and they're not the same. What do you need to do? You need to engage that person. Because if you're under stress and you're like trying to ignore it, and hey, if I just ignore my stress, it's going to go away. What do you need to do? Open your mouth. Communicate. If you have a stress problem, let's say you and I, Leonard here, we have a problem at work together. We work together. We have a problem. He's stressing me out. I need to open my mouth and say something and talk to him. We don't have to fight. We have a nice general conversation and relieve that stress. Because if I open my mouth, what does it do to my stress? And I let somebody know, hey, you're stressing me out. Or I talk to someone, a friend of mine, and say, hey, I have this problem, and this is my stress problem. What does it do for me? It relieves my stress. And maybe somebody else can give me another perspective. Next, withdraw, or not next slide, go back. Withdraw and decrease privacy and solitude. So you try to park yourself in a cave somewhere and ignore your stress. Fatigue. Why am I fatigued? Because I have a change in sleeping pattern. I'm laying there at night in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about my stress problem. That's why I don't sleep. Next. So, indicators, talking gradually, louder and more excitedly. Uncharacteristic frequent screaming. Experiencing an increased number of interpersonal conflicts and increased use of tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs. So people who you used to get along with pretty well, now because of your stress, they say something and it sets you off. Next. Cognitive indicators, poor problem solving. Maybe you've done a task 100 times, and now you go out to do this task, and you can't figure out how to do it. Why? Because you're not thinking about what you're doing. You're not focused on that. You're focused on your stress, whatever's going on in your life, whatever problem you have. So that's why you can't figure that out. Poor attention decisions. You just make a snap decision. You just decide, oh, I'm just going to do this. What happens when you do that? What happens when you make a snap decision?
You regret it.
You regret it later, right? Or maybe you hurt somebody. You're out there on the airfield and you're working on the lens, and you make a snap decision and just kind of maybe it's off just a little bit. What's going to happen? Is that going to be a problem? Yeah, that's going to be a big problem, isn't it? All right, poor concentration memory. You can walk in the house, you set your wallet down, your keys, your purse, whatever it is. You don't remember where you put it. Why? Because you're not really thinking about what you're doing and where you put things. You're thinking about your stress problem. All right, increase or decreased awareness of your surroundings. So your stress is so high, you got your blinders on. You're walking around with your blinders on. You're not really paying attention to peripheral vision, what's going on around you. You're focused on your problem. Next. So we all know Will Smith, he's stressed out, right? He's stressed, right? Out on national TV. So emotional indicators are depression, tearfulness, withdrawal, apathy, guilt, agitation, panic, anxiety, and frustration. All these things are indicators of stress. So like that coworker that comes in and they're not acting the same, if they're displaying these emotions, they're probably stressed out. Will says, don't chase people, be yourself, do your own thing and work hard. The right people, the ones who really belong in your life, will come along and stay. What does he mean by that? What does he mean? Anybody? What about all these people on TikTok now and Instagram and all this, and people trying to emulate them, trying to be like them? What happens when you try to be somebody you're not? You're going to cause yourself stress, right? Because that's not who you are. You're trying to be somebody else. Next. De-stress. Your level of stress is either too high or too low. Thereby causing negative effects. Stress controls you. So, stress, when your stress is real high, you kind of function. You come to work, you're still doing your job and stuff. But in Mind, Body, Mental Fitness, it talks about when your stress is too low, you go and you climb yourself into a cave. And you park yourself and stay in your little cave. What happens when I try to ignore my stress? Is it going to go away? No. If I just don't talk about it and I don't let anybody in my world, what's going to happen? I'm going to end up depressed, most likely. Because I just don't talk about my stress. And oh, by the way, I'm just going to go over here, I'm going to stay in the corner and not going to let nobody talk to me. I'm just going to hide in my cave and hide out. That's not going to work. You've got to open your mouth. You have to communicate. Next, eustress. When your level of stress is just high enough to motivate you and move you into action, help you accomplish things. You have control. So a good example of this is rating exams. When are they? They're in March and they're in September, right? When do you start studying for your rating exam? The night before? The week before? Or do you make a plan and say, oh, it's May now, I have a rating exam in September, maybe I need to start studying 3 days a week from X time to X time, and you can plan that out. Because what do we all have? How many of you have a family? How many of you have children? So you got to sit down and plan your day, right? You just don't just kind of go through life. You got to plan things. So when am I going to study? When is my time for me to study? You got to plan that out. Next. There we go. All right, we'll turn it over to George.
Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, my name is George. We're going to go over some of the stages, all right? Some of the stages of stress and what happens when stress kicks in, all right? And the tools or methods we use to hopefully manage our stress, all right? How many of you are stressed out right now? Raise your hand. All right? Why are you stressed? You got kids? So when you woke up this morning, what was your alarm stage? What happened? Got ready for daycare? Was your heart beating really fast? Huh? Normally that's an indicator, right? My stress is going to go up. All right. So throughout our day, every time we perceive something to be stressful, it's what? Stressful. It's stressful, right? It's stressful. I think it's going to be a stressful day. Guess what's going to happen? It's going to be a stressful day. All right. This stage is known as the alarm stage. Either I fight, like Aura said, do I deal with it, or do I go away? Right? Fight or flight. Do I stay and deal with my issue? Do I talk to somebody? Do I talk to him and say, hey, we need to talk, man, because really what you're asking, you're stressing me out. Right? I mean, you have to. Okay? Or I can just say, you know what? I'm not even going to deal with them. I'm going to go home. Next day, guess what you have to do? You got to deal with them, right? And then what happens? Your stress builds up. You gonna go? All right, next. Resistance stage. This is when your body tries to do what? This is on the screen. What does it try to do?
Cope with it.
It tries to cope with it, right? It says, I'm feeling stressed. What's going to happen? How does my body cope with it? One, your heartbeat goes up, right? You start sweating. You might get a headache. You might be nauseated. Don't feel good, lightheaded. So all these things happen, all right? So that's your body trying to tell you, hey, stress is happening. Now, if you look here, some of the foods, they put it up there, some of the foods that help fight stress. I know Aura, when he's stressed out, he drinks green tea. Yes, he does. I've seen him. Go over there, Aura, what you drinking? Oh, I got some green tea. I'm stressed right now. All right? So some of these food items, me, I bought 2 avocados yesterday. Not because I was stressed, I was just hungry. All right? I was just hungry. They're still sitting there, though. So I'll get them today. All right? Spinach, oranges, salmon. There's the list right there. That's not all inclusive. All right? You probably can Google it and see what else foods help reduce your stress. Next, please. All right, the exhaustion stage. This is when your body says, I am done. Right? Like Aura said, you can't think clearly, you're not focused anymore, you're forgetting things. So the exhaustion stage, when stress is not effectively managed. When you don't manage your stress and you don't talk to anybody, you don't do the things like exercise. How many people get up in the morning and go to the gym? What time? First thing in the morning? I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I hit the gym at 5. Not just me, also my wife, because I want her to relieve her stress. Right? And sometimes I do get stressed out going to the gym because she has to feed the what? I gotta feed the cats. And I'm looking at my time and saying, hey man, we gotta be there at 5. Because I don't want to be late for work because my boss, right, is going to say, where are you? I was at the gym. So when you exercise, right, it helps to relieve stress. Nutrition helps to relieve stress. All right? Talking to people helps you relieve stress. Going out there doing things that kind of calm you down. I see people sitting at the lake, and I think that's their way of dealing with their stress, managing their stress. All right, it is crucial to wear the cues, the signals that your body gives out. Your body's going to let you know when you need to manage your stress. All right, next slide. All right, exhaustion, this is what happens. Loss of temper equals to what? Violence, right? When you lose your temper, you start shouting, somebody's eventually going to shout back at you. All right? You give and you should be able to take it. Withdrawal, isolation, depression. Aura talked about that. Everybody goes in their cave and does what? They hide. Right? Nobody wants to come out. Nobody wants to talk. So if you see somebody that there's a change in their character, it's out of character for them, they're probably stressed out. You need to reach out and engage and say, hey, what's going on? Or not even that, you can say, let's go to lunch. Right? Eventually, when you engage people, they're going to let you know what's going on. You don't have to ask them. Just engage them. Physical illness, ulcers, migraines, headaches. All right? Or I said pimples. Right? You start breaking out, holy cow, I'm stressed. Okay? Burnout. This is the last stage. What happens when you're burnt out? You die? By what?
Like severe illness,
High blood pressure, stroke, heart attack. What about getting run over by a car? All right? That could happen. You're not thinking, you're all stressed out. You walk in the middle of traffic because you're not focused. All right? Get run over. That can happen too. Next, please. Perception. What is our perception of an event? Or sometimes we talk ourselves into what? Stressful situation, right? Traffic. How many of you hate traffic? Raise your hands. Okay. You? Diaz? So what do? You hate traffic. You know you're going to run into traffic. How do you relieve your stress?
Listen to heavy metal.
Listen to heavy metal, right? You know, I hate traffic. I hate it with a passion. So what I do is I say, you know what, George, it's not that bad. At least you have a car. Well, in Georgia, it even gets better. You got a full tank of gas. And the bonus is, you're going to work and you're going to go make some money. So you try to talk yourself into a negative situation into a positive situation. So your perception is key to that. All right, stress is different for everyone. Roller coasters. Who likes roller coasters? All right, a lot of people. I don't like it. I've been on it once my entire life. I was scared. All right, because I didn't have control anymore. They strapped me in this thing, and this thing is going up and down, sideways, and everywhere, and I just didn't like it. So if I'm not in control, it stresses me out. An event that is exciting and challenging to one person may be what? Different to another, right? Different to another. What stresses you out? You don't know? You have no stress in your life? No eustress, no distress? Nothing? Oh. Somebody needs to talk to her and get her secret, right? Because stress is with us every day. Next, please. All right, internal dialogue, self-talk. We talked about earlier that you can talk yourself into a stressful situation. Pennios or Tuttle? Who's your boss? Who's your chief? Chief? All right. So when the chief says, send you an email, I need to see you first thing in the morning. Doesn't explain anything. I need to see you first thing in the morning. What happens? You don't know what it's about, right? Huh? You're thinking what? What did I do? Right? Sometimes. You don't know if it's going to be good or bad. Am I correct?
But always walk in with a smile.
Always walk with a smile and leave with laughter. Right? Have a good time. But yes, that's what happens. When I was a young Marine, they said, hey, you need to go see the gunny. I'm like, holy cow, what did I do? I'm trying to figure out, right, what I did that day that I have to go see the gunny or the first sergeant. So we talk ourselves into that. That it's always something bad. We never say they're calling us up to, hey, they're going to give me an award. Not happening, right? We don't think like that. We always think about the negative stuff. So we need to change, how we think. All right, it can be accurate or realistic, right? It can be accurate or realistic. Irrational or unrealistic. The bottom line is you control your self-talk. You control the talk. If you can control your self-talk, you can control what? Stress. Right? You're in control. I'm going to go see the chief because, damn it, I knew she recognized what I did the other day. She's going to congratulate me, right? Probably not happy. You're still stressed. All right, next. All right, change your self-talk. We talked about that, thought stopping. When you start thinking negatively, you need to stop. I always talk to myself. My wife says, what's wrong with you? I'm just talking to myself, Carol, that's all. Just talking to myself. And then she says, about what? I'm talking to myself about not engaging with you right now because you're going to stress me out. Right? All right, find positive aspects about the situation. Like I said, traffic. For me, it's traffic. Sometimes I get so, right? And then I'm screaming and yelling, what's wrong with you? And then my wife says, what's wrong with you? Why are you yelling? Don't you see that guy just cut me off? So you need to stop. You say, okay, traffic's not that bad. All right? I got somewhere to go, things to do. All right, prove your negative thinking wrong. Prove it wrong. You don't have to always think that something bad's going to happen when somebody wants to speak to you, or you have to report early in the morning. All right? You don't have to. Find evidence that will support the way you think. What is the evidence? Why do I think this way? What's going to support it? Why am I thinking so negative when, I'm going to work because something's bad's going to happen? So we need to try to control that. Next. All right. Other ways to control your stress or manage your stress is time management. Right? Manage your time. Manage your time. On Sundays, this is my normal routine on Sundays to, ease my stress. I go to the chapel, go to service. I know the commissary is right next to the chapel, right? So on my way back, I go to where? Commissary if I need something. So I don't have to go to Albertson anywhere else. Oh, I forgot something. I make a list. Or my wife makes the list. And then on the way out is what? The gas station. See how easy that is? I'll go fill up the car full of gas because Monday morning is what? Work day. I don't have time to play around and say, oh shoot, I forgot to gas the car. No, I don't have gas, right? Running out of gas in the middle of what? Traffic. Going to work, right? So time management, next. Develop a daily task, right? Make a list of what you want to do, accomplish during the day. That will help you manage your stress. Group things together, group items together. Like for me, if I have dry cleaning to do, I just make that big circle around the base. That's how I manage my time and relieve my stress. All right, review a list, cross items off as you get them accomplished. And of course, last but not least, but you need to make sure you schedule me time. Whether it's out running, out going to the gym, going fishing, bike riding, all right, playing video games with your friends, because I hear that's a big thing. They've got video game parties and stuff like that. Schedule me time. Next. All right, external stresses, or mentioned that earlier, all right, relationships. Finance is a big thing right now, right? Finances, everything's going up. Wants and needs. What do I want and what do I need? Figure out what you need first and don't worry about the wants, all right? Finances, career, traffic, okay, going to work. All that stuff. External stresses. Next. We're all familiar with this, right? Military stressors. Deployment, lack of privacy, right? You're in a new place, you don't have a vehicle, you're probably in a foreign country, okay? Maybe getting shot at, who knows, right? A lot of stress. Requirement to be obedient. That's a stress in itself, right? Yes, Chief. Yes, Gunny. Yes, First Sergeant. Yes, Sergeant Major. Yes, sir. All right? Obedience. That can add stress because you think that what they're making, a decision they're making is probably not in line with what you're thinking and it's stressing you out. Separation from loved ones. All right? When we go on deployment or even TAD, we're separated from our loved ones, especially when there's something going on in the family. We don't communicate that with our leadership saying, hey, I really can't go to this training right now because of this. But when you don't communicate that, what happens? You're going to go and you're going to cause yourself what? Stress. But if you communicate it to your leadership, in enough time, they can say, you know what, yeah, you don't need to go. We'll get somebody, so-and-so to go because he or she wanted to go. All right, you need to communicate. Next. Universal stress management techniques. Okay, these are some things that, you could use. Next. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Now, there you go. That's it. Positive outlook, right? Strategy, communication, exercise, nutrition. We all know that. We're in the Navy, right? Well, too bad they closed down the mess hall because the mess hall is supposed to be giving you what? Nutritious meals, right? Right? Enough calories for you to keep off, right? And live on, right? So you don't get, out of shape and stuff like that. Exercise. You guys have command PT? I always see it. Frisbee, right? Frisbee or at the track. Okay? You need to exercise. We talk about nutrition, deep breathing. Everybody says, you've heard that say, right? Take a deep breath. Practice it. Take a deep breath. Doesn't it make you relax? It does. All right? Take a deep breath before you do anything. And of course, have a positive outlook. If you think positively, it's probably going to end up being positive, the outcome. Next. All right. Now, they talked about positive thinking. I don't know if it was on the slide or not. They talked about positive thinking, positive outlook, same thing. All right. I know there's a long weekend coming up. All right. Enough time for you to, release some of your stress. Positive thinking, not positive drinking. All right. Because come Tuesday, you might be in a world of stress, right? Depending on the choices that you make. All right. So I hope all of this is beneficial to you. Like I said, you guys, if you're feeling stressed out, the bottom line is you need to communicate that, all right? You let somebody know. Maybe not the person you're being stressed out over, but somebody. Just engage, all right? Release some of that stress. Come up with ideas to relieve your stress. So, once again, this PowerPoint slide, I know we put it here on the chairs, but there's some more copies in the back. If you would like a copy of the slide to, when you feel stressed out, you can take a look and say, oh yeah, I remember what they said. Let me do that deep breathing stuff. All right? Well, that's all I got.